In a world of cold-blooded killers, a single mistake will cost your life. They dragged a bloodied operative into the dark, bound him to a chair, and prepared to execute him. These terrorists thought they had total leverage. They were dead wrong. Because they didn't capture a helpless victim, they locked themselves in a room with a lethal weapon. Even as heavy blows shatter his body, he looks his captor in the eye and laughs right in his face. He wasn't begging for mercy. He was warning them that not a single person in this room is walking out alive. This story kicks off by taking us deep inside the world of MI6, a high-level government agency where elite intelligence officers operate under the leadership of a mysterious director known only as M. In this organization, no one knows M's real identity, keeping the very top of the agency completely off the grid. This film gives us the ultimate origin story of how a rogue, sharp-witted operative earns the legendary designation of 007, marking the exact historical moment James Bond officially becomes part of this elite government syndicate. To earn this elite rank and receive a 00 status, an agent must successfully carry out 2 high-level target eliminations. Right at the start, M sends James Bond after a high-ranking section chief inside MI6 who has been leaking top-secret intelligence and betraying the organization from within. When Bond confronts the traitor inside his dimly lit office, the chief mockingly looks at Bond and tells him that if M actually suspected him of treason, she would have sent a real, experienced 007 agent to eliminate him. He adds that as far as he knows, Bond isn't a 00 agent yet because earning that rank requires 2 confirmed, high-stakes eliminations. Bond calmly looks back at him and reveals that he has already taken down the traitor's primary contact. Immediately after uttering those words, Bond neutralizes the traitorous chief right inside his office. Having successfully completed both required assignments, Bond proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that he has what it takes. He is officially awarded his 00 rank inside MI6, granting him an unrestricted license to operate with complete executive authority against dangerous international targets anywhere in the world. Meanwhile, the narrative shifts across the globe to the jungles of Uganda, where a brilliant high-finance criminal mastermind named Chiffre meets with a shadowy broker named Mr. White, who represents a powerful global criminal network. Mr. White introduces Chiffre to the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, a radical militant group operating in the region. The warlord hands over a massive chest overflowing with millions in cash to Chiffre, explicitly stating that he expects absolute security and a massive financial return on his investment. The rebel leader asks Chiffre if he can transfer these funds to any country in the world without raising any red flags with authorities. Chiffre calmly and confidently assures him that he can send the money anywhere on the globe without leaving a single trace. Now, Chiffre is in complete control of this dangerous organization's massive war chest. Chiffre has a long, successful history of working alongside underground syndicates and militant networks. He makes a massive fortune by taking their illicit black market cash and laundering it across international borders, completely bypassing government regulatory agencies and Secret Service surveillance teams who are constantly monitoring suspicious financial transfers. Immediately after securing the warlord's funds, Chiffre calls his primary financial broker and instructs him to short sell 50 million shares of Skyfleet Airlines. The broker urgently warns Chiffre that shorting the airline could cause complete financial ruin because Skyfleet's stock value is projected to skyrocket to record highs in the coming days. However, Chiffre firmly orders his associate to follow his exact instructions without asking any further questions. On the other side of the world, James Bond is deployed to the tropical island of Madagascar on an urgent tactical assignment. His primary objective is to track down and capture a master bomb maker named Malaka so MI6 can bring him in for deep interrogation. However, during an intense, high-octane foot chase that leads straight into a heavy foreign embassy, Bond ends up taking Malaka down, causing a massive explosion that completely wrecks a large section of the embassy compound. Even though the primary target is neutralized, Bond manages to secure Malaka's mobile phone right before escaping the scene. Searching through the device, Bond finds a single incoming text message containing a mysterious, cryptic word, ellipsis. Back in London, M is absolutely furious when she opens the morning papers and sees the embassy incident plastered across international news headlines. She immediately summons Bond and severely reprimands him, reminding him that he was sent to Madagascar to capture the bomb maker alive for interrogation, not to blow up a foreign embassy and eliminate the target. She sternly explains that MI6 doesn't operate by wiping out low-level assets. They desperately needed Malaka alive to trace the supply chain and find out who is funding these international criminal networks. However, Bond shows zero remorse for his aggressive tactics. M grows deeply frustrated with his arrogant nature and his stubborn belief that his methods are always right, despite the fact that Bond is undeniably sharp and effective at what he does. Completely ignoring the bureaucratic fallout, Bond personally investigates the origin of the text message found on Malaka's phone. He traces the cell tower signal straight to a luxury beach resort located in the sunny Bahamas. Arriving on the island, Bond locates the exact luxury estate where the message was transmitted. He hacks into the resort's local security surveillance feeds, reviewing the footage from the exact timestamp when the text was delivered. Scanning the high-definition footage, Bond spots a wealthy, well-connected operative named Alex Demetrius, who sent the message directly to Malaka. Further intelligence gathered by Bond reveals that Demetrius works directly for Chiffre as an offshore middleman. Bond tracks Demetrius to an exclusive local club where he is hosting a high-stakes, private poker game. Bond casually joins the table, reads Demetrius' aggressive gameplay, and completely cleans him out, winning all his cash, his prized vintage Aston Martin, and even causing Demetrius' neglected, glamorous wife to abandon him. Later that evening, while spending time at a hotel with Demetrius' wife, Bond overhears a crucial conversation and learns that Demetrius has abruptly left on an emergency flight to Miami. Recognizing the high-stakes urgency of the mission, Bond leaves immediately, pursuing Demetrius straight to Florida. Arriving in Miami, Bond tracks Demetrius through the crowded floor of an international science exhibition. Bond silently watches as Demetrius deposits a heavy, suspicious bag at the security code check, receiving a claim token marked with the number 53. Demetrius then sends a rapid text message on his phone and subtly drops token 53 onto a nearby cocktail table. Knowing Bond is trailing his every move, Demetrius attempts to ambush 007 from behind with a concealed blade in the middle of the crowded venue. However, Bond easily anticipates the move, overpowers him, and silently neutralizes Demetrius right in front of the unsuspecting public before he can strike. Bond grabs Demetrius' phone off his body, noticing a new outgoing message that also reads, ellipsis. Bond quickly heads over to the coat check counter to retrieve the bag using token 53, but the token and the bag are already missing. Another operative has already claimed the package and vanished into the bustling crowd. Bond instantly realizes that the sabotage mission originally assigned to the bombmaker in Madagascar has now been handed off to this new operative. Bond dials the last outgoing number on Demetrius' phone, listening intently as a distinct ringtone goes off just a few feet away. He spots a suspicious man walking away holding the exact same bag. Before Bond can close the distance and apprehend him, the man hops into a waiting taxi and speeds off directly toward Miami International Airport. Bond pursues him all the way to the main terminal. The operative slips into a restricted service area by disguising himself in an airport security uniform. He approaches a heavy coded security door, and Bond watches from a distance as the man punches in a password. Realizing the operative plans to execute a massive attack inside the airport, Bond looks down at the word ellipsis on Demetrius' phone, translates the letter combination into corresponding numerical digits on the keypad, enters the code, and unlocks the door. Bond follows the operative straight out onto the active, bustling runway tarmac. The operative hijacks a massive fuel tanker truck that has been outfitted with a remote explosive device. The primary target of the attack is Skyfleet's newly unveiled prototype airliner, the largest commercial aircraft in the world. Chiffre's grand plan is to detonate the fuel tanker and completely destroy the prototype, causing Skyfleet's stock value to plummet instantly so he can cash in on his massive short sale bet. Bond fearlessly leaps onto the speeding tanker truck, engaging in a brutal, high-stakes struggle with the operative while maneuvering the heavy vehicle across the tarmac. Bond cleverly manages to attach the operative's own explosive charge onto the attacker's belt without him noticing. Airport security forces intercept the truck just in time, and when the operative presses his handheld remote detonator expecting to blow up the airliner, he unknowingly triggers the device on himself, leaving the Skyfleet prototype completely intact and unharmed. Because the attack fails miserably, Skyfleet's stock value skyrockets to record heights instead of crashing. As a direct result, Chiffre suffers a catastrophic financial blow, losing over $100 million belonging to the dangerous Ugandan rebel organization. Knowing the ruthless warlords will eliminate him if he doesn't recover their lost capital immediately, Chiffre organizes an ultra-exclusive, high-stakes Texas Hold'em poker tournament at the famous Casino Royale in Montenegro. 10 elite, international high rollers will enter with a $10 million buy-in, plus a $5 million rebuy option, creating a total winning pot of $150 million. Back at MI6 headquarters, M briefs Bond on the situation. She explains that Bond is the absolute best poker player in the entire Secret Service, making him the only field agent capable of taking down Le Chiffre at the high-stakes table. M tells Bond that the goal is not to arrest Le Chiffre immediately, but to bankrupt him completely at the table. Once he loses all his money, his dangerous criminal clients will come after his head, forcing Le Chiffre to beg for government protection and trade his entire client list in exchange for asylum. M cautions Bond that Le Chiffre is a mathematical genius who calculates probabilities like a chess grandmaster. Bond travels to Montenegro and arrives at the luxurious Casino Royale. There, he meets Vesper Lynd, a sharp, stunning officer from the British Treasury sent to manage the government's $10 million stake. Vesper's strict responsibility is to monitor Bond's gameplay performance closely and determine whether he deserves the additional $5 million rebuy if things go sideways at the table. The high-stakes tournament begins with 10 wealthy players sitting around the table. Le Chiffre takes an early lead, but Bond's sharp observational skills quickly spot a critical physical tell. Whenever Le Chiffre is bluffing with a weak hand, he subconsciously touches his hand against his temple. Despite picking up on this detail, Le Chiffre continues to build a massive chip stack during the first 4 hours of play. During a scheduled break in the game, the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army ambushes Le Chiffre inside his private hotel suite, holding him at gunpoint and aggressively demanding his money back. Le Chiffre desperately promises to return every single cent once the tournament finishes. As the warlord exits into the hotel hallway, he spots Bond standing nearby. A silent, high-stakes struggle erupts in the stairwell, but Bond overpowers and neutralizes the warlord and his henchmen before returning calmly to the poker room. When the tournament resumes, a massive, critical hand develops at the table. Bond notices Le Chiffre displaying his classic bluffing tell once again. Believing Le Chiffre has nothing in his hand, Bond boldly pushes his entire chip stack into the center of the table. However, Le Chiffre intentionally baited him, revealing a superior hand and completely wiping out Bond's entire $10 million stake in a single move. Devastated and empty-handed, Bond approaches Vesper to request the additional $5 million for a rebuy. Vesper flatly refuses to release the funds, firmly believing Bond played recklessly and completely lost control of his emotions. Furious, Bond prepares to abandon the casino, but another player from the table steps up to stop him. The man reveals his true identity as Felix Leiter, an undercover operative working for the CIA. Felix explains that the American government wants Le Chiffre taken down just as badly, and since Felix knows Bond is the far superior card player, he offers to fund Bond's $5 million rebuy using CIA money, on the strict condition that the Americans take Le Chiffre into custody after he loses. Bond accepts the high-stakes deal and re-enters the tournament. The game reaches its dramatic, edge-of-your-seat climax as the remaining players push all their chips into a massive final pot. One by one, the players reveal their cards to the dealer. Le Chiffre lays down a powerful full house, fully believing he has secured the ultimate victory. But Bond turns over his cards, revealing a higher straight flush. Bond officially wins the tournament, claiming the entire $150 million pot and leaving Le Chiffre completely ruined and bankrupt. Bond turns to Felix, letting him know that Le Chiffre is all his. Later that evening, Bond and Vesper celebrate their massive victory over a quiet, romantic dinner. During the meal, Vesper receives a mysterious message from Mathis, their local MI6 contact, and steps outside the restaurant to answer it. Bond realizes something is terribly wrong and rushes out after her, only to see Le Chiffre's remaining henchmen forcing Vesper into a vehicle and speeding away into the night. Bond jumps into his Aston Martin and pursues them at high speeds down a dark, deserted road. To stop Bond in his tracks, the kidnappers tie Vesper up and lay her right in the middle of the asphalt. Swerving violently at high speed to avoid running her over, Bond flips his vehicle, crashing violently and losing consciousness. Bond and Vesper are taken to a secluded, abandoned facility, where Le Chiffre subjects Bond to intense physical interrogation, attempting to force him to reveal the bank account password containing the tournament winnings. Despite the agonizing pain, Bond refuses to break or hand over the code. Suddenly, Mr. White steps quietly into the room. Stating that Le Chiffre's embarrassing financial failures have made him a massive liability to the network, Mr. White eliminates Le Chiffre on the spot, unexpectedly sparing the lives of Bond and Vesper. Bond recovers at a peaceful MI6 medical facility, with Mathis standing at his bedside. However, Bond reveals that Mathis was actually the true double agent who leaked their secret location to Le Chiffre. MI6 agents immediately step in and take Mathis into custody. During his recovery, Bond and Vesper realize they have fallen deeply, truly in love with each other. Bond decides to officially submit his resignation letter to M, wanting to abandon the dangerous, violent life of a secret agent to build a peaceful future with Vesper. The couple travels to Venice, Italy, to begin their new life together. While relaxing in Venice, Vesper leaves their hotel for the local bank, claiming she needs to withdraw cash for their daily expenses. Shortly after she leaves, M calls Bond directly to discuss his sudden resignation. M casually asks if Bond intends to transfer the tournament winnings back into the British Treasury account. Confused, Bond immediately contacts the Swiss bank official, who informs him that the funds are currently being withdrawn in cash right there in Venice using the secret account password. Realizing Vesper has betrayed him, Bond rushes frantically through the crowded streets of Venice to track her down. He spots her carrying a heavy briefcase full of cash, handing it over to a squad of armed operatives inside an ancient Venetian building supported by floating pontoons. Bond engages the operatives in an intense battle, shooting out the structural flotation supports and causing the entire building to sink rapidly into the canal. As the heavy structure collapses, Vesper becomes trapped inside an elevator cage that plunges deep underwater. Overwhelmed by deep remorse, Vesper locks the cage door from the inside, refusing to let Bond risk his life trying to pull her out. Despite Bond's desperate attempts to break the lock and save her, Vesper drowns in the dark canal. Bond pulls her lifeless body to the surface, completely heartbroken and destroyed. Mr. White secures the briefcase containing all the money and quietly slips away into the Venetian crowd unnoticed. Later, M contacts a grieving, angry Bond, explaining the full, tragic truth behind the betrayal. She reveals that the night Le Chiffre was eliminated, Vesper made a secret deal with Mr. White's syndicate. She agreed to hand over all the tournament money in exchange for sparing Bond's life. She only betrayed the Secret Service to save the man she loved from being executed. Reviewing Vesper's left-behind mobile phone, Bond finds a final text message left specifically for him containing a contact name and private number, Mr. White. Using the priceless lead, Bond tracks Mr. White to an isolated high-end estate located on Lake Como. Bond dials the private number, watching through a sniper scope as Mr. White answers the call on his balcony. As Mr. White asks who is calling, Bond incapacitates him with a precise shot to the leg. Bond walks up to the wounded mastermind, calmly standing over him as the camera frames him in full, delivering his legendary line.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Bond. James Bond. Every great story has a twist you never see coming. The credits are rolling, but the mystery is just beginning. Subscribe to stay ahead of the plot, and thank you for watching Cinemaned, where the story never ends. See you when the lights go down.